sensitive. It's capital E and capital G in the Erlanger. That is temporary, and you will change that password to what you want it to be in step number 7.
I don't know if to put on there. I think it has to be minimum of 8 characters.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what?
Minimum of 8 characters.
You have to have a number.
Doesn't have to have any special characters. Doesn't have to have any uppercase. Doesn't have to have any symbols. It just has to be 8. That's the only requirement. I would tell you that if you choose, and Mark and them advise you to use the second factor, you know, a lot of people tell you, don't use your kid name, don't use this, you don't use that. If we implement second factor for you, I don't care what you use, because you're not getting in without that code.
This will already comes to my iPad now?
Yes.
You can use it on your iPad.
I mean, I get it. I get my mail, so
Yeah, you're already set up.
it's coming already, okay.
Once you put this temporary password in, you'll see step number 5. That'll be the next screen. I can't go there without recreating this, so that's why I put it on this piece of paper here. So step number 5 is just the agreement, the basic Google agreement that you're understanding, and you're going to create their new account. Once you hit the blue, I accept, create a new account, that will then take you into the ability to change that password and make it what you want it. Once you change the password, you'll just be into the basic email setup.
That's Matt using. Matt is, of course, required to use two-factor, and that's the request for the 6-digit code. That's why you can't get into his account.
Question. My personal email was Google, or is Gmail. Does that matter?
You can have multiple accounts.
Yeah, you can have, yeah.
That's what mine
Because that's what we got.
Once you sign in for the first time, this is actually going to take you to the mail page. It probably won't take you to what this is, just the sign-in page. I'm already signed in several times. Once you click up here and go to mail, you'll then have all your email. You will probably see some emails in there that have been sent to some accounts early on when we first set those up. And you can go through those as needed.
At a later date, we'd like to give you a little bit more training. I understand that. I know that I'm already on Mr. Dunhoff's short list because it's after 7 o'clock, so we don't want to push that too much further. But
Always
I'm also missing the cat, so I'm right there with you. So, I don't want to go too deep into it. We just want you to be able to access your email, and then we'd be happy to come in at another time, another committee meeting, whatever you want to do, and go really in depth, talk more about Drive, calendar, all the different things that come available with it.
Are we current on the webpage with these email addresses, or are you waiting for us all to get signed in?
We are waiting for you all to get signed in.
Okay.
Do we all have to agree on the same?
Absolutely not. Anyone, you can have, anybody can have any one of the 4.
Do it either one, yeah.
I want them all.
That might be.
Which one's the one that you use?
I use this one right here.
Which is the?
Because the battery life is just 7. I've gotten like 25 hours out of it.
Is the one with the keyboard, is that one pretty?
It does also. I mean, all the Chromebooks, all these devices have at least in the 6 to 8 hour range of battery. Chromebooks, probably a little bit more than this one right here. But yeah, you're not comfortable with typing on a screen. You want a keyboard. I think Chromebooks are outstanding because they can move like that, 8 seconds, update themselves within 10 seconds, and it's you can't break it. There's nothing you can do to make that thing stop working.
And you said you can't get viruses on it?
Cannot get viruses, there's no installation. There's no operating system. Everything you do on it, you're going to do. You can install some programs to do things, but mainly you're doing stuff on the laptop.
Do you want a laptop? I'm going to tell you, it's important how you're using this, because if in fact you want to create documents and you want to get in and you're doing a lot of document kind of work, you don't want this.
You want to get a Chromebook?
This is mine. This is what I use. It's very difficult sometimes to do. I have to get used to it in order to do that. I have a home computer, at home, and I got the one here in the office, so I don't, so it's not. And I took maybe this Chromebook, I like it with me. The only thing that I have found with the Chromebook, I've been testing them a little bit. It has a very difficult time, and I don't understand it because I turn this one on my phone, I pull on my driveway, and it picks up my home internet. It just right away. The Chromebook, for some reason, has some difficulty doing that. Got to replace that router. Well, everything else hooks up to it except the Chromebook. And I have to reset my router, and then it finds it right away.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I will say this, though. The hotel I was in Thursday and Friday down in Frankfurt, put the internet in at one time, and it stayed there. So maybe that's just my
Scoffing at you behind your back.
It's a new one.
He's got to come over. I'm just kidding. But that's kind of what we want from direction. And we don't know how, and I've kind of talked to a few of you about how you're using it. You know, what is it that you need? What do you want? We want to go green. We want to go as paperless as we possibly can. That's why we didn't print out anything tonight. You know, we didn't want to give you, I didn't want to give you the policies. I emailed them to, we didn't want to do all that. You can see, and maybe the cost isn't great, but the printer issues around the city and as many different devices that we have and the different copiers we have to get a handle on it. We have to get it down and do it. Steve's working very hard on that, trying to figure out what this is. Because, each copy you do, and it's just like the page that you had in front of you tonight with the agenda on it, that's a full page. You can print that out, whether or not it's got 3 sentences or 4 sentences on it.
Right.
We get charged for the whole page doing that. And I can guarantee you the amount of paperwork that you all got last Tuesday sitting in front of you, who saved it?
Oh, yeah.
Did anybody save it? Did you?
have mine.
I save everything.
The whole folder? Well, at some point in time, you're going to shred it. There ain't no doubt in my mind. You'll get everything off your personal computer. You'll get rid of it.
It's more fun to burn it.
Add it to electronic. What we would love to do is get these in front of you, and you have them.
Claire's fire pit on my deck.
And you go right through the agenda, right through all the ordinances and everything else right on this device in front of you and do it. And then you can use it. The phone way, and we're talking about that, I'm going to tell you the hotspots on these phones work very well. The PD has been running off of these, and if you go back and you think about it, and I don't know, some of you were around at the time we did it, but back in 2000, right around 2000, we got a grant inside the PD to put the mobile data terminals, they were terminals at the time, not computers, inside our vehicles. And what we did was we had to have some kind of connectivity. So it was radio connectivity, and the radio connectivity was through Boone County. And we were paying $50 a car, $50 a computer per month to Boone County to be hooked up to that. Boone County had millions of dollars into the system. We hooked up to it. We stayed with Boone County until we went the other way. Data just would not stream over that radio. When more data started coming, when these became computers and not terminals, there were more things we could do with them. Started out with computers in the car that were $5,000 a piece. It cost about $7,000 to put a computer inside a police car. Today, that cost is down to probably right around, $1,500, because we're using the internet. We're not having to put the modems in the cars with the radio modems and everything else that went with them and all that. We're down to about that. I'm not really sure what Steve's going to propose, but I foresee him proposing another change, and it would be more like this Chromebook up here, which is about $200. Over the years, we've gone from that to this, and that's just technology is just changing so quickly to do. But we didn't know whether or not you wanted phones, because like you saw, it's $7 more a month. Get a phone to use it. You'd be connected all the time. Or you take one of these devices, you have absolutely no connectivity except what you have at home or your work or when you're out. I don't know how to use it, but almost everybody I have talked to, in this room has said that everywhere they go, they usually have the internet because they've got it wirelessly at their house or they're using it at work or wherever they may be. So it's out there and available to use. So I don't know about a time frame. Steve and I really haven't talked about that, about trying to switch out these devices, to get rid of the iPads, to pick one of these, go to a phone if you want to add. And that's just an extra benefit, I would think, to be will also provide a keep Facebook updated. Look at it that way. But for $7 a month, you get that. Or, compared to what it is right now, or it's the cost completely. We just give you the device. Once we pay for the device, there will be no connectivity charge every month because then you'd have to find the internet on your own. That's a decision that you all need to make. decide which way you want to go.
I like that Google voicemail, because we have that at school, and it's really convenient, because anytime you pull up your internet and check your email, you get that voice message. And it's right there on your computer. So it's almost like having a phone with you. It's really nice. I like it.
So,
Citizens like it.
I do too. That's why I said it's so convenient, you know, you don't have to have your phone, you just, your little device there, and you can get it.
so it's 35 a month if we just got the Google Chrome, but it's 42 if we got the Google Chrome and the phone? Okay.
No,
$35 a month
for the Apple.
is what you're currently paying.
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
I'm sorry. It's 42.
We can do away with that.
Right.
Don't give you any connectivity whatsoever and just give you a device. Came in here, if you look at every one of these, they're hooked up to the council chambers internet. They all got, it's all throughout this building everywhere. So you won't have that. You'll have to work at your home, you know, what you got your internet at home or wherever you're using this, whether it's at work or whatever, or wherever you're at. Then there won't be any cost to that, okay? So if you want connectivity and you want a phone, he was afraid I was going to knock it off, wasn't he?
I'm not sweating bullets.
Yeah.
But, so then that would be 42. To get the phone along with the connectivity is $42 a month. That's if you want the phone.
And if I can elaborate just one on that, I mean, I certainly see the phone being your connectivity, you know, and that's all well and good. I also don't see it as the only reason to go that way. You know, you can get Google Voice and it can dump into your phone or rather into your email and you can call a citizen back. But, you know, if I call a citizen back, when I dial my phone, it says, do you want to use Google Voice? And when I say yes, what the citizen sees is 859-635-3162. That is my Google Voice number. The same, so when you call somebody back, you're exposing your number. I think that you should give citizens the ability to call you because they don't necessarily have internet. But when you return their call, I don't think you should be confronted with exposing your personal information to them. And this would allow you to do that. The connectivity is a big part of it, yes. But there's another side of it that, you know, plays into the citizens communicating with you that I think you should consider as well.
Will you guys get any money back on our iPads? No?
Say goodbye.
We're not sure about how that will work and what it'll do. I know that we did a refurbisher. Yeah. We sold all the PD stuff to a refurbisher, put it out, got bids, set it to the highest one, and actually made money. Kind of unheard of, to be quite honest. And it's like Steve said, you know, we know that the value of the iPads is less than what this is, and it's simply, or on the phones, the iPhones that were here that we had, we got rid of, it's less because, exactly like Steve said, Apple comes out with something newer and better just way too quickly, and it just takes the value of the old stuff down.
One thing here.
So we would attempt to.
I might have missed a meeting or something, but is there a reason Becky's not here? I don't know. Seems like I'm missing something here.
Well, she is pretty much removed from the IT thing right now. Mark's got her working on other projects because she outsourced herself with going to the cloud on most everything. And so there's been some internal reorganization of what's going on. I want to say one thing on behalf of Becky. For a long time, we were doing the mainstream technology thing. It was Microsoft Office. I still use it. It's the standard email, everything for the law community, okay? You'll see some rebels out there who are off doing Macintoshes and that sort of thing. We were staying in the middle. Some of the decisions she made, we could sit here and second guess, but they were decent decisions at the time with her knowledge base. Doing this dispatch system has taken our knowledge base and put it into the cutting edge. And so we're now going from mainstream, run-of-the-mill, Microsoft Office, outsourcing tech help, stuff she couldn't get to, didn't know how to fix, whatever, into in-house expertise because of what we did with dispatch, moving into Google, which wasn't available 5 or 6, 7 years ago. And so we're kind of on the edge. So I'm not justifying all the decisions that were made. I was just saying there was a way that this was done, and it really started moving fast. Steve caught it on the front end of it. And so this is all where things are going now. But 5 years ago, it was completely different.
I would echo what the mayor says. I mean, it may look like we were coming in and we're just disassembling everything because it wasn't the proper thing to do, but to be honest, you know, we come from two different worlds. You know, we come from a world where we deal primarily with mobile users, and that is an entirely different environment than dealing with office users. The things that were put in place for office users were very, you know, that's accepted. That's what most businesses do. And a mobile environment is completely different. And Google has certainly grown up leaps and bounds 5 years ago to today. Whether I would have justified a Google experience for an office user 5 years ago, I'm not sure. They didn't have all the features that they do today. Now, I think personally, I think they've surpassed the Microsoft. But I echo what the mayor said. The decisions made then were based on the facts then, and the facts now are different.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to throw Becky under the bus or anything. I just kind of wanted a roadmap of how we got to where we're sitting right now.
And where we got to that, and it's exactly what Steve just said. You know, the PD had operated in a mobile environment, and we were much more mobile than anybody else. That cruiser or those crime scenes, whatever we were going to, we had to be able to do all the things that we did sitting in an office. So, you know, we knew that when we took over. This evolved, especially when, you know, we went from the terminal to the computer and we were able to do more things. And that was one of the things that really caused us to break away from the city, to be quite honest. And I had this discussion several years ago with the powers to be. And I said, we have to be more mobile. You know, we've got this investment in technology. This is where it's going. We have to do this. We can't be restrained by those restrictions, like Steve was saying, you know, built behind these firewalls that were inside this building, that coming from the background that most IT people come from was that, you know. We were lucky enough, you know, to have Steve there at the time to go through all of this and do it. And folks, we were the junkyard dogs of this state. You know, when Homeland Security came up to us 3 years ago, 3 years ago when we started, 3 or 4 years ago, when we started anew, we had requested a grant for several $100,000. They just couldn't believe that we were going to be able to do everything that we wanted to do with that amount of money. So they actually came up here, and they looked to see what we were doing with that whole MDC project. Steve sold them on it. Sold them on it at about a third of the cost of what they had been spending around this country. So this is now the model that they use for MDC projects in the state of Kentucky. You can't get one unless you model your grant and everything they're doing after what we are doing. You know, and this man started that. And so, you know, we always give him a little grief about being the junkyard dog, but the junkyard dog pays off at times. And that's just a different philosophy than most IT people will look at it. You know, just to tell you, to be quite honest,
Yeah, but
you know,
getting paid that much.
and not to say anything about attorneys at all, but IT has a language the same way attorneys have a language.
Sure.
You know, and understanding all of that is just difficult for us to do sometimes. You know, we're just going a different direction, whether it was right, whether it was wrong, whatever we've been doing in the past. We're just going to go a different way because we believe there'll be a cost savings. We also believe operationally it'll be probably more efficient in how we're getting our jobs done.
In discussions over the past 3 years, that were not something that I could necessarily share with you all in open meetings. There was a, for lack of a better term, a fight going on internally. I had the previous CAO and Becky over here, Becky wanting to do this and do that and make this change and go there, and the previous CAO really didn't understand. It's not her fault. She didn't understand this, and she would be resistant to any kind of change. And then Mark and Steve were over at the PD flying beyond everybody. And that's why we had an ErlangerPD.com when on over there, when over here it's ci.ky.erlanger. Whatever the dots were. And it was a problem because the leadership here at the time wasn't capable of embracing how fast technology was changing because leadership, including me, didn't have to. They did have to. And so that's how we got, when Mark came over here, that's how we bring in all this gone. That's the first thing I wanted to tell you. The second thing I want to tell you is one of the things the president of the Kentucky Bar does is he's the one that has to put on a convention. And this is my last thing this year. My convention's here in Covington. I picked the theme 2 years ago. It's called Tradition versus Technology, and the subtitle is The Mobile Attorney. And most of the continuing education, we still have your basic evidence and criminal law cases, and that's typical continuing education, but most of it is tech. And most of it is what attorneys are doing now, which is like me. You don't have a brick and mortar office. You're practicing out of your van. You're a Lincoln lawyer doing it out of your Lincoln. You're in a courthouse. Sometimes you go rent a virtual office so you can go meet clients in a building somewhere. But your office is in your den at your house. Everything's being done on the fly. The entire practice of law is changing dramatically from where it was 5 years ago. And so city government. And I just want to take a second tonight and just thank you guys for dragging us along with you. Because for me, it is dragging along. I mean, Steve and I have had discussions, and I don't understand a word he says. But he says it again, and I start picking it up. And I'm now trying to figure out for myself, am I better off in my law practice using Outlook for my calendaring system, or am I better off going to Google Calendar? Am I better off staying with Word? MS Word is the standard used by judges and courts around the country, and that's where we all produce our docs. Am I better off changing to Google? I can tell you now, we're just now in Kentucky getting e-filing. Okay, there's not going to be any change in the court system in document preparation. It took them forever to get off of Selectric typewriters. So, you know, I'm probably going to have to stay with Word, but to keep up with you guys, I may have to change other things. And it's moving too fast for this guy. But as long as we have them, they'll keep us.
That's what I said. We'll keep a copy of them and keep them.
And again, in the previous administration, I'm saying, I'm not putting them down. I'm not putting Linda down. She did not, you know, you knew her background. She didn't have the capability of understanding what this conversation was about and where it was going. And it just didn't work. And, you know, Mark and Steve have been working together for years now, and they're on a different plane.
And what the mayor said earlier about dispatch, this is a direct result of that. You know, dispatch, when we took that over, and I stood right up here and was against doing that. When we did it way back then, I was like, oh, wow, we're biting off this great big piece of this apple, and we're going to get choked on it, and we were just, it scared us. I know it scared me too. Can't be scared. Came along, you know, the staff that Steve has built inside with Matt and now Jim White being on part-time, you know, that's all they do, and that's all they were doing. And it's like she said, you know, there were 180 mobile machines out in the field at the time that he was doing, and that many different users, and plus each headquarters they were going back to. And so they learned a lot doing all of that and kind of built it in-house. We had the asset. The asset now is being underutilized. You know, when all the other cities decided to jump and go to the county, we were lucky enough to have this staff here. You know, Becky not being here tonight, I left that up to Becky. It was her choice to be here or not. She thought that maybe not being here would allow, you know, more free speak if you wanted to speak about this just like that.
Well, she should have been here.
She didn't.
I feel like she should have been here.
No, it's her choice. Either way, I left it up to her to be here or not. We have a whole different direction that we want to take Becky in. You're going to see that in the presentation in 2 weeks on March 8th, you know, a position that we feel the city needs and go on. It's going to be a community liaison.
It's some of the stuff you all told me we needed when we were deciding which way to go.
Well, that's where you
How
hired
many
her
years
for
have I been
$2,000.
And we'll be able to do this without incurring any extra cost because we have this personnel here already. As a matter of fact, we'll be able to do it at less cost because of the money we're saving. So, we're not,
So this poor guy, does he have to do double the work to make the same amount of money?
this one?
Yeah.
Well, of course.
That's a bad deal. That's a bad deal.
You know, when you put together,
Put a dress on, Steve.
when you put together, Mark said he had to bite off the bullet and he was scared. We bought the bullet, and we put together the finest emergency communication system in Kentucky, bar none. The finest, okay? And the powers that be, because of a few dollars and some politics, decided they wanted to go play with mediocre stuff, which is their decision to make, each city, and we're left with this gem of a communication system for us in Ellesmere and Crescent Springs. Okay, great. What's the byproduct? Here we are. All the knowledge, all the technology, and not just what he learned, but I think in this, Stephen, you may correct me, it's you learned where to look. You learned where the movement was taking place. You learned how to find out what was happening next when you had to do it for public safety on the other end. And I think we're reaping the benefits of it right now.
Been that trip to France.
Way beyond me.
2 days, boys, 2 days.
So, you know, try the email stuff. Get on there and see. I know a lot of you have Gmail accounts already. And I know I had one before this. Because they're free, and it doesn't cost anything. And you get a lot of the services that you get in this whole package the same way, for free. So get it on, look at it, play with it. We can do a whole lot of other trainings and things. That's what we've been doing some of. I'll tell you what, the form thing, I went to a training one day, and Steve did come in and help me walk through it, okay? I hadn't used forms before. And we still get paper pay stubs. So thinking, why do we get this? Half the people around here don't pick them up. Don't do it. So we wanted to do a survey and to see if maybe going electronic. And it would not save us a whole lot of cost. It's about $100 a month. However, it'll save Bobby Joe, who's doing payroll now inside HR, a lot of time. And it's not only that, you know, when she gets these through the mail, she has to separate them by department. You know, then she has to try to put them in alphabetical order and has to then disseminate them to all the different departments. And I know she really would like to get rid of that burden, that one little job that she has, that she could be doing other more important things during the day than doing that. And I know there's a lot of old school people when we did this, you know, and now, no, I want the paper. See it. Yeah. We said, okay. So created a form, very simple. Created the form, sent it to all the employees, and asked them a simple question. Pick one or the other. Had 72 responses. No, 71 responses. 71 responses, and it was 50 to 21. Go electronic. 2 to 1.
I get
Well,
paper.
electronic, though, couldn't they go online and print it off if they needed it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's no reason not to.
And lo and behold, we have that ability, but nobody, you know, nobody knew. It's underutilized. But with HR Performer that's hooked into Paycor, that system already sitting there already exists today. So nothing it's going to cost us to do that. All people have to do is go in and put their accountant information in there and put their own new password in there, and then they can get it to do that. But my point of saying that was the forms were easy enough to be able to do, to create that and do that. You know, we can get by. When we're looking at the Q Alerts thing, and I wanted to say this when that part was coming up, it's only $6,500 a year, only $6,500 a year, you know. But come to find out, when we got looking at it, the people that were using it were our people that were taking the phone calls and then putting it in the system. So our clerks were sitting here answering phone calls from citizens, and then opening up Q Alerts and putting it in here. Then I'm sending the codes guys out to go do that stuff, and not only are they having to go back in and fill out what they did in Q Alerts, we make them put it in to our dispatch system so that we can then track it and pull that data out of, because we can't pull it out of Q Alerts. So we can do some tracking and mapping. So a lot of that duplication of stuff, and we're finding out, just looking at all and just trying to put it all together, you know, these two different ways need to come back this way. And I'm going to tell you straight up, you know, if there's anybody to blame for the switch or the divide that probably occurred, you know, in the last few years with IT, you're looking at it. Yeah. It's me, you know, because I took it a different direction.
No, Mark just wasn't going to stop. He wasn't going to slow down because we had people on the other side who just said, I don't know, no, you know, and there's nothing against them. They just didn't know any better. Right. And
I'm not trying to do that back at down, but you know, put the blame because we pushed it that way. You know, we looked at it, knew we had to be mobile, knew, you know, the whole idea at some point in time was for a police officer to be able to walk into somebody's house with this. Okay, what you do, just fill out the form right there, and then go, and boom, hit the button, and he's done. Get back in the car, and they go patrol. They can go be proactive and do the other things. I mean, that's where this will be at some point in time. You know, it takes a long time to get there, but, you know, the internet speed came up. You know, we switched from Sprint to Verizon because we were losing connectivity. We were losing it on a regular basis. And our people were going crazy. They weren't being able to do the things that they needed to do, you know, and making that switch. And Sprint kept promising us, promising and promising and promising, you know, because we're spending quite a few dollars with those people, you know, a month. Kept promising, oh, it's going to be here. We're going to get this up. We're going to get it up.
I never got there.
No. And the day we turned on Verizon, everybody was happy. I mean, everybody was happy. First weekend I went camping to Red River Gorge. Went down there. I'm on email.
Still had service.
I still had service.
That's the main reason I got Verizon.
Yeah. It's just so much better. And not only was it better, it was cheaper. But we stuck with Sprint for a long, long time because they were so good with our customer service and doing some things for us. We stuck with them for a long time, but they just never did fulfill what they said they were going to do.
Connection.
So it's always changing. Yeah, it's always changing. So decide what you want. If you want to do it this way, if you want phones and go that way too, let us know that. Get back with this, you know, as soon as we can, and then figure out this way if we get the emails and stuff set up so we can get the devices in.
So you guys prefer we don't keep the iPads, and what was the reasoning again? I know you had told me, but I
You know, the biggest problem with iPads is that we can't control it.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a big brotherish way. I
Why
mean
not?
that in if you
Security.
use the device, you can't affect it. With Google, every device that we have on it, we can wipe it remotely, which the iPads can be wiped remotely as well, but it's with another piece of software that I imagine costs.
Is proprietary with Apple.
Yeah. So with Google, we can affect a wide variety of Android devices. They don't have to be the same. But if something happens to our data, we can zap it.
I went to Xavier basketball game. Got back in the car afterward, and we got driving down, and I went, my phone. Very first phone call I made,
I was in the car.
he was there, we used to look at, can we wipe this phone? And I wasn't going to wipe it because of the internet. I have every contact information, home addresses, phone numbers for every police chief and fire chief, probably in northern Kentucky, sitting in here. I got all of yours in here. You know, I was more worried about the contacts than I was anything else of somebody getting in the phone, to do. And, being able to wipe it was good. It was underneath the seat of the car. But we had Xavier police
good
looking,
practice.
and it did, yeah. So that was one of those embarrassing moments. But along with that, but the iPhone or the iPad doesn't play as well with Google because of the operating system inside of it, being Microsoft and.
So our main choice right now is one of those three computers, and if we want the phone, so it'd be either no charge or $42 a month.
Or $7 above if you're already.
Well, I know, because we're already doing 35, but if we didn't do anything, it would be.
Right. And then you have to, I think beyond that, consider all the enhanced. Clearly, I think that you should do all of them. Clearly, you should consider whether or not you believe that that's a cost that the citizens would benefit on your behalf. I think there is, but you need to come to that conclusion yourselves.
Do the pads have the ability to push the microphone, speak to it, and turns it into text, like the iPad does?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
When you have fat fingers like mine, typing's no good on teeny little
I
buttons.
don't do it a lot like in a document like you might, but like many times I'm driving down
Notes to myself.
Yes, I'll push the microphone button and I'll speak my text message instead of,
Right.
type it. So I just push the button and speak it. So I've done short.
It's on the Android. I didn't know if it was on those things too.
That's the thing, it's the same system.
All right.
If you have on your phone, it works exactly like that.
All right.
So there are actually 4 devices, 2 tablets, and 2 different sized keyboard laptops.
I got a phone.
So do we have the option of just doing data on the device instead of having the phone? Is that an option? Or do we have to have the phone to do the hotspot in order to use the device?
We could make it the option, sure, we could do that, I mean, it would be a lesser charge. Again, the only thing you would lose would be the ability to call back a citizen and mask
Your telephone.
As much as I don't talk
You just
to,
happen to be there. You
I
can
don't-
tell whether it's the Google Voice number coming in.
Right.
Or whether it's a cell phone number coming in. If you see that it's a Google Voice number and, it's right, and you're like, oh, okay, Councilman so-and-so. And, you're talking to them right then, you would lose that ability. But it could be an option.
Is that it?
you know how much that would be?
Come on, man, you ain't shooting very well, Mike.
Get more emails.
So we just need to, do we need to discuss this now, or do we think about it, talk about it?
I gave it to him.
I mean, it's a go.
I get more
I want-
emails than phone calls.
I mean, the phone,
Don't you get more emails than phone calls?
I hardly ever,
I want the data. I want to be able to have
Right.
I
mobile
want
data.
both of them, okay?
I don't want to have to be stuck with finding a hotspot. If I'm standing up at the depot on, whatever, and I got my thing there, then I can do whatever I want. If I gotta find a hotspot, well, I can't access that information.
Google actually has a hotspot already.
Well, I mean, I could, on my stupid iPad. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
It was between the lines.
I didn't say it's 9.
But it's been said.
this is my,
I don't know why.
Can I have my Galaxy Tab now? You can have this back. I'll take my Galaxy Tab now. You can have this.
Money on that phone, I know that.
what?
What about the phone? I mean, does everybody think they want the phone, so they have that connectivity all the time?
I don't know if
We
I
can
want,
look at the data plan and everything.
is that, okay, I don't know if I want two phones.
You lose me here.
If you give me,
That's it, so I mean,
Right.
but
right, if we get a phone, that means we're gonna have two phones. Our own phone and that phone, right?
let's get rid of your own
Let's
phone.
get rid of your other phone.
No, my phone's
I'll tell you one thing we've
synced to
done.
my car.
When we do with police officers who come into the department and they have a personal phone, we encourage them to use our phone for their personal, because why? We know it's gonna be on. So what happens is they'll come in with their own number, we'll port their number into our system, and we'll pay their bill. And then when they leave, we've done this many times, they leave the department, we allow them to take that number back with them again. We just did it with, what's the name of the air care?
Oh.
Robinette.
Robinette.
He had this crazy 513-200 number, no idea where he got it, never seen anything like it in my life. And I would about say, want to keep it too. When he left here, we assigned that number, we allowed him to take that with him. We have brought in personal numbers, made them ours for the period of time that the person's here, and let them leave with it when they were no longer associated with the city. So if you've got a personal number and you're like, man, I don't want to keep it up, I don't want to give everybody my own phone number again, we can.
But would it ring on that phone?
For termination or whatnot, that's gonna be on you, of course, but that will pay for that, use it personally. We used to have to get Greg used to have to give us an IRS 99 for our personal use. The IRS did away with those rules 2 years ago. We no longer have to do
It's
that.
too much for them.
So personal usage is no longer, no one cares about it. Use it all you want.
So,
Use it for
so we can convert our phone number to the new phone, sorry.
Yeah, we can port your current phone number from that.
Yep.
That's it, we'll go all the time.
Push
I
that.
know, that's what I'm saying, I mean, this would be a big step
We
up
can
for
port
me.
that onto one of our devices, the number will then become the property of the city.
I don't even know how to use the one I got.
At such time, far in the future, when you no longer.
I can't even use the fucking phone.
You need the jitterbug is what you need.
Yeah. I need the old, rotary phone.
And the bottom line here is simply this: do you all feel like that expenditure is justified?
It's worthwhile.
And it's gonna be, that's what you have to decide, what that is, because this is something that we've never given council before. And this started out years ago really small and has gotten a lot larger. I'm not gonna tell you every employee in this city's got a phone, because they don't.
Everybody keeps coming back.
Okay, those ones that are critical, on call and things like that, they do have, can do those things. So, that's, the only question here really is, do you want the phone? Or you don't want the phone?
I don't need it. Me personally, I will, if you handed me that phone, I have no use for that phone. If I get it, if we have the file that comes through on the Gmail, I can listen to the voicemail. I have a way that I can call them back without them knowing I called them. I can do that. That doesn't bother me. What I do want is I want the tablet with data. I want to have that information access wherever I go.
Right, so you won't be able to connect to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
The joy about this system is we can meet your needs.
That's what I mean.
Everyone else's needs are different. We can meet their needs. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
So if I understand what you're saying, then it's, as long as council is okay with the expenditure of whether it be a phone or a tablet and the data, then we can all get personalized. Do you want a phone? No, I don't need a phone, just want a tablet. You want a tablet, you want a book, you can have a deal. So as long as we're in agreement on cost, being able to do such.
For $7, yeah.
So there you go.
Compared to what the technology cost 10 years ago for the same stuff, right now it's peanuts.
Right.
You know, there are throwaway phones that you see on TV, crime shows all the time.
$249. Your iPad costs about $700.
Oh, my gosh. I paid $400 a month.
Well, that was a bad ride.
Can you let us,
That's way too expensive for me.
Well,
I'm glad you bought them, because I bought some for my kids. Half of that.
hey, brother, I'm rocking out the Android phone and have been for a long time. I'm with you.
Are y'all ready to go?
Yeah.
This was my first iDevice.
Shane had a great point. I mean, if we tell you right this minute that we all agree that we want either or, then we can individually decide.
Individually let you know.
I think it's a great point.
They're just looking for it, they're just looking to move this, if
Right,
this is the
to
direction we
move
want to go,
forward.
let's go.
Right,
We can
right.
figure out what you need on a
Right.
individual
can
basis.
you, let us know what the because I'm leaning towards not getting a phone, even though I should.
Find out how much your data cost is and
For the data, for the Chrome, yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter, because if everybody's okay with spending the money for that, it's gonna be cheaper than the 42. I mean, so if you why does it matter if you get, we'll tell you then, we have some costs.
But if I'm here with you, you can look at it, if I got it.
I think it's a great raise myself.
I got my Google Mail. Give us Google.
Patty.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Where are you? Oh.
All right.
By next Tuesday or something, think about it, send Steve whatever it is that your needs are, and then we can put that back together. I'll send it out to everybody. Just these.
Your person.
No, not all your.
Oh, I had a look. I was gonna stop.
Steve's job just got way worse.
I was gonna stop and see him now.
So when can we turn our iPads back in?
when you tell me what you want, give me your device, take your old device and then
Can we buy our old iPad?
That's what I was wondering.
Can we buy our old iPad? Okay, 'cause, I mean, I've already got one, but I was thinking maybe grandchild could use it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a good deal on it.
Okay.
Figure that out, because,
Yeah, Greg, figure it out.
Excellent. Excellent.
I would use